Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole. On our podcast, we delve into the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
That's right, Nicole. Our podcast is all about exploring those fundamental truths and practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, Christina, we want to make metaphysical concepts easy to understand and accessible, especially for those who don't have a ton of time to do all the research.
Right? We'll do the research as well as share our experiences and perspectives, hoping to empower you, our listener, to find balance and magic in your day-to-day.
Inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root, let's explore the roots of well-being and self-healing together.
This is The Radical with Christina and Nicole, two metaphysical girls in the material world. Hello, welcome to the Radical Podcast. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
Today's podcast, we're going to be talking about portals, gateways, and thresholds. Oh my. I love that title. Nicole came up with that one. And why thresholds?
So to me, I wanted to have a third synonym so we could make it like lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my.
I love it.
And so I chose thresholds for two reasons. It's something else you can kind of step through, like a portal or a gateway. And that word came up recently at our retreat in the context of Hecate.
Do you know that I just thought of Hecate as you were saying that? Because I was reading my book that I got on Hecate, and it was all about thresholds, and anytime you're walking through anything is a place of that deity, is a place of that goddess. So maybe she's looking over us today in this podcast. Because I am certain that these three types of energies, portals, gateways, and thresholds, are definitely in her, that deity's space, 100%.
Yeah. I feel her energy with us today on this podcast.
I like it. Oh, so that is fantastic. Great, great title. So that is what we're talking about today, listeners. Portals, gateways, and thresholds. First segment, we talk about some, I'll discuss what the beginnings. I talk about the calendars a little bit and kind of where this type of energy observations may have came from in our modern culture. And then we talk about how Nicole and I feel about those things. She has a lot more information on this than I do. I'm very new to this concept. So the first segment, some information. Second segment, us talking about our feelings and our experiences. But honestly, we're talking about our feelings and our experiences throughout the whole podcast. And then in our final section, we have the message from the universe. Today, I'm using the Medicine Woman Oracle deck, which is so beautiful, by Catherine Maillard. So beautiful. The cards have been chosen. They jumped out. And now that you said Hecate, more of the cards make sense to me. Why these cards are ours today.
Looking forward to that.
Yes. So let's get started. I want to talk about the calendar, because as we're talking about what portals and gateways and thresholds are, one element of that is the numerological. Is that a word? Numerological.
It's really hard to say.
Yes. Well, part of portals and gateways are double numbers lining up on days in our current Gregorian calendar. Our calendar that we use today was introduced in 1582 to replace, previously was the Julian calendar, 1582, and went into effect October. So the Gregorian calendar was more suited than the Julian calendar because the sun, the way the earth revolves around the sun, 360 wait, let's see, making the 365.2422 days in a solar year. And it's hard to get an even number of days to match that. That's why we have currently in our calendar, we have the leap year. Every 5 years, that time gets added up into one extra day, which is easier to manage than several extra days, as I have a note on coming up. So they dropped days, lined everything more in line with the seasons as well. We've had this modern calendar for 442 years. The Babylonians, the inventors of the astrology that we use today, did not use this calendar. Just understand the history. And if you are still thinking about whether or not this resonates with you, I'm still learning about this, and I don't resonate with the numbers as much as I resonate with the actual solar and lunar events. But I'll tell you what I do believe in, Nicole. Divine synchronicity.
Mm.
And even though the calendar is new, in quotation marks, that if it was meant to be, the dates are meant to be lined up the way that they are because of divine synchronicity. I do believe that.
I swear I wasn't reading ahead at your notes, but as you were talking about resonating with portals based on numerology, I was thinking about that the numbers are bringing us. Oh, I just had a really good example of that. Like
Let's
how
hear it.
numbers bring a message, even if it's not like what we're supposed to be seeing, I guess.
Yes.
So it was the Sunday we were back from California. So jet lagged, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I forgot daylight savings time happened. So I looked at my phone at one point and it said 222. And I was like, oh, that's great. I love, angel numbers. Yay. So aligned. And about an hour later, I went into the kitchen and looked at the microwave and it was 222 again. And I was like, wait a minute.
You're like, what?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that's divine synchronicity, that there's a little bit of magic and there's a little bit of getting out of our heads and into our hearts through any means necessary. Right.
Yes.
So I do believe that, and I love it when stuff like that happens, because then we take a moment to reflect on time and daylight savings, and we're not thinking about what we have to do and what we have to work at and what our responsibilities are in that moment. You were in a whole different headspace of magic
Mm-hmm.
and reflection on the nature of the world we live in. Divine synchronicity. Know the history, understand it, and then do your research and then decide what resonates with you. I do want to say a note on the Mayan calendar. As I was researching through my open source search engine, what kept coming up was the theme of the Mayan calendar. And the calendar portal days could have originated from the Mayan culture and the Mayan calendar. But that calendar is not related to our calendar. The days are very different. And you can find out what the Mayan calendar day is. And you could even follow it if you wanted to. It's still being maintained and made available that you could find out what today's date is in the Mayan calendar. And it is fascinating. If you love math and cycles and beautiful pictograms, it is a fascinating read about the Mayan calendar. But what I do want to say about the Mayan calendar is that portal days are days when the gateway to the cosmos is open and are thought to be responsible for energetic vibrations of everyday life. That could have been an influence, maybe a little crossover. I don't know. I know what I think. I did my research, so you guys decide, see if that makes sense to you. But I do want to say this, Nicole. The yearly calendar for the Mayan culture is called the Ha'ab, Haab. And it was made up of 18 months of 20 days each. That's only 360 days. How they balanced it was they had 5 nameless days at the end of the year, known as the Wayeb. The 5 days were thought to be dangerous time, where portals between the mortal realm and the underworld were open. It was dissolved, and no boundaries prevented ill-threatening deities from causing disasters. They had specific customs to protect themselves during those 5 days. Their starting point for their year was the winter solstice.
Okay, I was
So that
wondering
means that those 5 days were the 5 days before the winter solstice, which is kind of what we're creeping up on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see. Yeah, so it's the shortest day of the year, and the 5 days leading up to the shortest day of the year were the 5 nameless extra days that they had to balance in to keep their calendar 18 months of 20 days. Isn't that fascinating what humans create?
It is in line with the wheel of the year more so.
Yes. Winter solstice, shortest day of the year. That is a fascinating little piece. So much more to read on the Mayan calendar and their ideas of portals and gateways and openings to the cosmos. So you can kind of see where that information, like I said, crossed over probably into us finding special days in our modern calendar, which I totally get why that would happen.
The Mayan definition that you provided, portal days are the days when a gateway to the cosmos is open and responsible for the energetic vibrations. I think that's the exact same definition that I guess modern day we would use for a portal. And I just want to mention, you brought up how it was thought to be a dangerous time.
Those 5 days were.
Correct, the 5 days before the solstice. So I came across this in my research, but I didn't put a lot of focus on it. But there is an idea that portals are bi-directional. So things can come in, things can go out. There was a little bit of talk about bad spirits maybe coming through the portal. But like I said, when I hear stuff like that, it doesn't really resonate with me or like really align with my beliefs. So I didn't really go there, but it is worth noting.
But you can see, so we're talking about numerology. Specifically, let's just say 11/11, the 11th of November. I had to think. Or 12/12, the 12th of December.
Which is the day this podcast comes out.
Yes. Those are some people's portals and gateways, and they've attached information to them based on their experiences. But portals and gateways are also eclipses, the solstices, and the equinoxes, when solar and lunar events are happening. In the Mayan culture, they were also referring to solar and lunar events, not just days that happen to be outside of their their normal calendar days. Likewise, with our modern calendar, yes, there is a numerological element, but there also is a large solar and lunar element.
Yes.
And then I have one more little thing about calendars. The world's oldest calendar is a solar lunar calendar discovered at the Göbekli Tepe archaeological site in Turkey. The calendar dates back nearly 13,000 years.
Wow.
It has a series of little V-shaped symbols, each representing a day. It has a depiction of the summer solstice and a record of a comet strike around 10,850 BCE. We have a beautiful piece of information about the Mayan culture starting on the winter solstice. We have another piece of information about an ancient calendar depicting the summer solstice. Our connection to the natural world is the same as our ancient ancestors. We still have access to observation of those days, which I think is just so amazing to think about.
Yeah. I like that too.
So portals are dates of or astrological events when cosmic energies are said to be extremely potent, powerful, and influential. Portals can heighten intuition and increase spiritual downloads, vivid dreams, synchronicities. They can be defined as vortexes of spiritual energy points, like chakras or acupressure points. And also, I didn't know this, physical locations, such as Machu Picchu, Stonehenge. And I like the thought of high energy places. And I've been lucky, very lucky to travel, that I've been in places where I felt like the energy was very like new and like raw, where there hasn't been a lot of people influence in the landscape and in the country. And a lot of times those are kind of volcanic areas like New Zealand and Iceland. But then you get the energy in places where there's been people inhabiting it for centuries. That has a whole different kind of vibe and feel to it. And I totally resonate with that. That those could be portals and gateways, spending time in certain places with intention can totally connect you to a different vibration.
I have Colorado Springs further down in my notes, but
Oh.
I mean, we were both at the Garden of the Gods together, and that is some very powerful energy. And that came up in the research as another portal location.
I saw a website where someone had consciously assigned 8 places on the planet with the 8 chakras. It was fascinating. Listeners, more information on that. If that's new to you, go look it up. And it was from their point of view, based on their experiences and also historical information on those 8 locations. I think it's fascinating. Maybe that could be an exercise for you and me, Nicole. We do our own 8 places with the 8 chakras. We would have totally different lists.
I'm wondering if so this person may have made their own list, but I believe there's like a standard accepted list of 8 chakra points on the earth.
There could be.
I think I came across the map of them, and some of them are just in the middle of the ocean.
Well, I like that. That is some fun stuff because I think I made a note here because if our bodies keep the score of our highs and lows of emotions of great and terrible events, of course the earth can too. The earth is also an organic living being.
Mm-hmm.
with its own energy. It can capture emotions. It can capture events and vibrations and sensations. So I totally believe that. And portals are said to be doorways or gateways to other dimensions. And I feel like it's all about intention. And I like to have a lot of days and a lot of ways to have mindful reflections. Whether it's a double number, whether it's the beginning of the month, the week, the year, favorite number days. We just said a little note about Hecate at the beginning of this podcast. I'm reading the book, and since Hecate was a triple goddess, her number was 3, that she was celebrated in ancient times on the 3rd, 6th, and 9th day of every month. Or you could every month, or if you wanted to do something for her, you did it on one of those 3 days. Good habits create our future selves that we desire. The more time we spend reflecting and devoting our brain power towards higher consciousness and higher spirituality connections, I think it's a good thing. Anytime we disconnect from our world of illusion, separation, consumerism, overwork, over responsibilities, anytime that we can disconnect from that and connect to higher consciousness is good. And whether that's seeing 222 on your clock twice in the same day, I love it.
I was like, wow, I'm like so super lucky today.
Or you'd be like, am I time traveling?
It was a very confusing moment based on, yes, all the jet lag and
yes.
yeah, it was quite a moment for me. I was like, what? I really didn't know what was going on for a second.
I love it. So numeral how do you say that word?
I tried to say it earlier and it's not happening for me either.
Numerological.
Numerological.
That's it.
You just
We're
have to
not
say
saying
it
it
really
again.
fast.
Yeah. We're not saying it again, listeners. That's it. So I said 11-11, 12-12.
And there's a special one. This one is also an astrological transit, but for now I'll just mention 8-8. It is the Lion's Gate. That's what it's referred to more so in the realm of astrology. But this day is really special because it's my nephew's birthday.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
me too.
I love the phrase Lionsgate. That brings up like really fun visions in my head. And also, as we said, so you got numbers, and then you've got eclipses, equinoxes, and solstice. I totally vibe with these. Equinoxes, balance, solstice, extremes, right? You have the longest day of the year in June, and then clearly the shortest day of the year in winter, associated with all kinds of myths and traditions and things. Just that little bit we talked about the Mayan calendar with those 5 extra days leading up to the next morning. It's like shorter day, shortest night of the year. And then the sun comes up the next day and it's like, we made it. And then the days get longer and longer, and then you start the next year. So you can see how those days are mathematical realities based on the orbit of the sun and the moon. Those are mathematically predictable and have been happening since the beginning of time.
Right. When I came across these in my research, it said the equinoxes and solstices are said to be natural portals associated with changing seasons. So I liked the phrase natural portal.
Yeah. Not mathematical realities.
Right. Well,
we don't need that phrase.
it's both. So we've got the numerology ones: eclipses, equinoxes, solstices, and astrological transits or events. So I mentioned Lion's Gate. This is a portal that happens every year during Leo season, which is why it has the name Lion's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lion's Gate portal is open from July 28th through August 12th. The peak of Lion's Gate is on 8/8. This is when the sun in Leo aligns with the star Sirius, Orion's belt, and the earth. Sirius is considered the spiritual sun. Ancient Egyptians were very in tune with the star Sirius. They believed it was the gateway to heaven and the home of higher vibrational beings. The ancient Egyptians believed that the energy of Sirius carried highly advanced wisdom that we could tap into here on Earth. And this time of year was that portal where it was thought this wisdom was more accessible, easier to come into contact with. This time of year is also linked to the flooding of the Nile. So you get some themes of abundance and prosperity linked into the Lion's Gate for this reason. And I have a little note here: while our sun is responsible for beaming down life for our physical bodies, Sirius is responsible for beaming down life for our spiritual bodies. Aww. And it is why the opening of the Lion's Gate portal was thought to bring a lot of spiritual awakening, to lift our vibration, lift our consciousness to new heights. And today in modern astrology, Sirius is associated with freedom and advanced technologies.
Oh, see, I've heard of the Lion's Gate. Didn't know it had all those pieces to it.
Yeah, it makes me think about our discussion during the Sun podcast, where we talked about light codes and activations coming in or downloads coming. The Lion's Gate is this opening where that's kind of raining down on us even more so. We mentioned physical locations being portals. These are called the chakra points of the earth, some of them. We mentioned Machu Picchu, Stonehenge. The idea here is when you visit these places, because of the energy and the vibration, it's a really likely environment to have a spiritual activation or awakening. These places are thought of as doorways from many dimensional worlds that interface with the third dimension. So that's one way of saying these portals give us access to the 4D and the 5D worlds. All right. For segment 2, I just picked a couple things that really interested me and made a couple notes. So we're just going to dive into those. I learned about a new space object, I guess, called the Great Attractor. Have you heard this mentioned? It came up. What it is it's a gravitational anomaly. It's more similar to dark matter, but they're still trying to figure out precisely what this is. They're pretty sure it is not a black hole. So you know how our sun, Christina, is like holding our solar system in place with its gravity?
Yes.
So this great attractor has the gravitational pull of 1 million billion suns.
1 million billion.
That is a 1 followed by 15 zeros. So this thing is strong. It has quite the pull. It's actually dragging us. Everything in its path, it's dragging towards it. We're talking other galaxies. This thing is powerful. However, it's kind of one of those things where it's like far off from actually getting us, but we're heading in that direction. So it sounds alarming, but we really don't need to worry about it. It's not really urgent. It's not a direct threat. I heard somebody say, think of this more so as a mystery than a threat. They use the word mystery.
Okay.
I love that because we don't know what this is. We don't know what its purpose is. We don't really know anything about it. But it's fun to imagine what it could be in the woo-woo context of a portal or a gateway or a threshold.
Just a huge energetic influence as well.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, the Great Attractor. It's a good name.
There's a podcast I listened to about astrology, and she has placed this point, and it's around 9 degrees of Sagittarius. So it was fun to listen to this get talked about as a point in astrology that we can have a square with or a
Oh,
sextile with. So I'll be keeping my ears open for further developments on that.
so
But
fascinating.
yeah, so it's actually in the sign of Sagittarius right now.
And we're almost in Sagittarius, listeners, as we're recording this. In 2 days is Sagittarius.
Yes. Ley lines. Ley.
Yeah.
Ley lines are thought of as energetic lines that connect ancient sites, forming an invisible web or like network across our globe. Native Americans called these the spirit lines. The Druids called these the mystical lines. Chinese dragon lines, and the Aborigines of Australia called these the song lines or the dream lines.
Hmm.
So many different cultures and people have reference to these energetic lines. Of course, if we're talking about it, it probably hasn't been proved by science, which these have not. These have not been proven, if you will. I saw something pretty far out about ley lines, that they are kind of our GPS for our mothership, our alien mothership. I love just hearing all the theories. I
I
don't
love
care
that.
how far-fetched they are.
Well, we just did. I say every podcast we ever recorded, I say we just did. I should say we did a podcast recently on the planets, and I talked a lot about planets, individuals, electromagnetic fields, and how the planets, either through the molten metals in the core of the planets or the molten hydrogen, I think I remember, would act as a conductive liquid, that these electromagnetic fields are vital for the planet's protection from solar winds, but also has other purposes, clearly, that we probably just, I mean, we don't know everything yet, but the Earth has an electric field.
Mm-hmm.
And how that electricity is distributed throughout the planet through tectonic plates, fault lines, volcano. I mean, how energy flows throughout the whole planet could all be connected to this. But the fact is that there is electromagnetic energy on this planet.
For sure. It is thought that some of Nikola Tesla's work may have actually involved a greater understanding and incorporation of ley lines. It's thought that he was somehow tapped into this and he had an understanding of them. So it's a very interesting topic that I think we say this every episode too, but I think ley lines could be its own episode.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history, culture to culture. That would be really fun to dive into all the different beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I think one culture would bury their dead along ley lines so they would have an easier time because it was thought of as a portal where you could easily cross over and get to the other side.
Yeah.
So, but that was just kind of a little introduction to ley lines.
I like it.
I came across the word words, I guess, the phrase crystalline grid. I'm not sure if this is another name for ley lines, but they seem to be very similar. Both play off what Christina mentioned, the Earth having an electromagnetic field, also its own frequency and like vibration. So these ideas tie together. The crystalline grid is defined as an energetic or vibrational network that is said to surround the Earth or exist at a higher dimensional level, which really sounds like what the ley lines are. The number 1212, which is today, if you're listening to this podcast on the day it comes out.
On the day of release, 12/12.
Yes, 1212.
We're putting the energy of intention into this podcast, that the 12/12 energy will be full on when you're listening to it.
Yes. So this number is associated with ascension, leveling up, and Christ consciousness. Now, to me, Christ consciousness describes the energetic frequency of divine, masculine, unconditional love. That, to me, takes the religion out of it. I think of Christ as like an ascended master, and sort of his medicine is this very loving energy. So that's sort of what I associate 1212 with. It also is sort of a message of harmony and reconciliation, but more so like inward within us. So it's kind of like you're reconciling your shadow side. We've talked about shadow work before. It's more along the lines of integrating. You're finding harmony because you are bringing the light and the dark into balance within yourself. And that's where the theme of self-mastery comes in. So knowing thyself, knowing what has the potential to trigger me, what my, emergency self-care practices are, what do I need to do to take care of myself. It's sort of knowing both ends of the spectrum within yourself, the light and the dark, and harmonizing it, reconciling it, and reaching this self-mastery, which then kind of ties back into ascension and leveling up and Christ consciousness. Because when you do this, when you're integrating your shadow, it takes a lot of self-love and self-acceptance. So I really see those all tying together and working together on this day. And the last little theme is about divine support and encouragement. It's about believing that your dreams and desires are possible, but also taking action, which usually means doing something like getting out of your comfort zone.
I like, when I was reading this, I just kind of glanced at it, and then I kind of connected with, you wrote, your dreams and desires are possible. You said that earlier, and I was like, oh, so for me, it feels like the power of attraction, that like attracts like.
Yep. And again, leveling up. So we've talked about it on this podcast before, but starting to think and act and talk like the person you want to be.
Yeah. When you said that the first time, and you said, how does that woman drink her coffee in the morning when all of her needs are met? I'm like, wow, that is exactly how we need to be drinking our coffee every morning.
Yes. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Not just dressing for the job you want. It's like, when there's also another element to that is like your daily activities are done with a sense of, I've got this. I've done this. I can do it. I've done it. That you're there. Yeah.
Yes. That's the energy behind the numbers on the day of the portal. So today, for example, 12/12, it's a good day to examine your priorities and how you spend your time and energy. It's a good time to just make sure you're boundaries reflect your values and reflect the time you need to give yourself and to your priorities. If you're like, I really want to write a book, then you need to create that time for yourself to do that.
The when, then. When I get the promotion, then I could take time to write my book. When I lose this last 20 pounds, then I will go out and start do my yoga teacher training. When, then. No. There's no such thing. There's only now. There's only now.
Yeah.
Don't give yourself a condition for doing something you want to do. Start where you are. Do it now.
Yep. Releasing self-limiting beliefs and old programming, getting your mindset right. Be happy now. Drink your coffee like the person who has that money saved and learn her programming. We want to spend more time in positive states of mind, higher vibrational states. This isn't saying ignore your emotions or spiritually bypass, but we control our mental narrative. So if we can make that positive and change our perspective, we become better manifestors and we reach our goals and our desires that much quicker.
Yes. I like that. Better manifestors.
Best way to harness this energy, it's a theme of kind of releasing. You could do a burning ritual. You could write some stuff in your journal. You could rip it up. However you want to release those limiting beliefs or old programs or old behaviors. I love burning, but ripping paper up works perfectly fine.
I love to burn stuff. I love it. And I always have. I thought it was a lot to do with just just enjoying being outside, making bonfires, having campfires, that kind of thing. And now as I've gotten more in touch with my wild feminine side, I can see just how purifying it is to burn. Rather than to take your old calendar and put it in the trash can. Like, I don't want to do that. But I don't want it anymore. I want to burn it. I want to like release it. Old journals. I don't want to put those in the trash can, but some of them I don't want to keep. Just burn it. And then all those intentions are released out into the world. I love to burn. Okay. Message from the universe. Pick A or B. A is authenticity. I open the way of truth. The message: I am the light of truth, and I benevolently encourage your quest for authenticity. I know the power of integrity that frees the shoulders from the burdens we carry, of culture conditioning and transgenerational legacies. I bring my protection to those who wonder why things are what they are and what the fundamental truth of life is. I am the greatness of the clarity of the sacred laws before you and the courage to honor them. Be assured of my presence when you feel confusion and of my protection when you experience deceit or manipulation. With me at your side, the truth will always be revealed in the end. Guidance from this card. This card supports you in your search for authenticity. Be true, whispers the medicine woman. You are under my protection. What truth does your heart hold? Have the courage to raise the banner of who you truly are. Remember, too, there is no single truth. Embrace the truth of another. This oracle gives you the ability to detect lies, a quality innate from childhood. Be attentive to signs. They provide information about the person or situation that concerns you. In this way, you can detect any lack of integrity. Sometimes, for different reasons, we lie to ourselves. It is time to honor your truth and release limiting illusions to let purity of your heart finally resound. B. Divine sensuality. I reveal your talent to enchant. Message. I am the goddess of love, sensuality, and desire. Pleasure is a doorway to carnal celebration, the gift of our incarnation. I hold the power of sensations, love, and creativity. I am the enchantress, the muse of poets, the lover. My spirit is the honey of life and catalyst of your talents. I am Venus, Aphrodite, and Shakti. The promise of the marriage of yin and yang resonates in me, and my dances call for sacred union. When you surrender to your impulse of life, you also tap into wonderful inspiration for sublime, divine creations. The guidance from this card. The time has come to connect to your desires, the joy of living and sensuality. Treat yourself, whispers the medicine woman. Develop a connection to sacred sensuality. Like Venus emerging from foaming water in a seashell, let your beauty shine. Celebrate your body, the vehicle of your divine feminine essence and container of your creations. Reconnect to water, the symbol of sensuality, and fertilize your talents. Let yourself be exalted by love and powerfully sensual relationships. Reconnect with your loving and erotic nature and exalt your creativity in all areas. The third card is for everybody. 4. Mother Earth. Forge a new alliance with nature. Message. Can you hear my song, beloved daughter? I am here, all around you, in the streams, drops of rain, light of the sun, and trees that offer you their shade. Women and Pachamama, our planet, have forged an alliance stretching back to our beginnings. Women have always adapted their lifestyles to the rhythms of nature, the seasons, the course of the moon, and the cycle of the tides, in keeping with harmony of the world. When we act against this flow, our attitudes provoke imbalances, taking us away from a natural and fulfilling life. The crones say that the day women listen to their own earth, their uterus, which enables them to carry children and holds the seeds of tomorrow's world, they will manifest the great sacred dream. Earth, women's wombs, giving life, dreams, all are sacred ties to Mother Earth, the great mystery of life. And guidance from this card. You are one with Mother Nature. You are water, fire, earth, and air. By forging ties with your terrestrial habit, you can strengthen the foundations of your inner home. When you are in carnal contact with nature's wilderness, your skin becomes alive and life beats inside you once more. Can you feel it? In contrast, losing this connection can be revealed through tiredness or lack of trust in yourself and the future. You are not separated. You are not alone. Trust in your own ability to grow, just like Mother Nature all around you. You can count on the life forces inside you. The Medicine Woman Oracle deck has given us her messages for today. Very powerful.
Yeah, those felt really appropriate for today and what we talked about. So thank you, universe.
These cards are absolutely beautiful. Again, we'll post the pictures and let you know so that you can research the cards yourself. Enjoy this magical day. And the magical day is whatever day you're listening to this podcast, even if it's not 12/12. Whatever day you're listening to this podcast is a magical day.
I agree. I agree. Thank you, listeners. We will talk to you next week.
Bye. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Radical. The Radical is written and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Listener questions can be emailed to us at theradicalpodnc@gmail.com.
Our Instagram is The Radical Pod.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music.